Welcome to the video Spring Boot file upload and download with database. I am Nam Haming from CodeJava.net. Through this video, I'm going to help you how to develop a Spring Boot application that allows the users to upload files to the database and views uploaded files and then download files from the database. I will guide you through the process of developing a Spring Boot application that looks like this. As you can see, the document manager application. This application allows the user to choose a file and then click the upload button. And the application we upload the file to the server and then store the file's content into the database. And then it displays the message the file has been uploaded successfully. That's the file upload function. And then the application also lists all the uploaded files in the most recent files first, you see here. And in each file, it shows the file name along with the size in bytes. And the user can click on each file to download it from the database. That's the listing and file download function. So you see, this application looks quite simple and pretty nice, right? We will be developing a Spring Boot application that makes use of the following technologies: Spring Data JPA and Hibernate framework for the data access layer, Template as the template engine, Bootstrap for responsive user interface, MySQL as the database, and I'm using the following software programs: Java Development Kit, JDK, Spring Tools IDE, SDS, and MySQL Database Server and MySQL Workbench. And here are the steps which we need to follow in this video. First, we need to create a Spring Boot project and then code the entity class and repository interface, and then code the file upload to database function, and code the listing uploaded files, and then code the file download from database function. And finally, I will show you how to configure file upload size. You see, this is Spring Tools IDE SDS, and let's create a new Spring Boot Starter project. Go to menu, File, New, Spring Starter project here, and enter the name of the project as Document Manager. Group ID net Java artifact ID document manager version 1.0. The description is file upload and download with database, and use default values for project type Maven Java version 8. Packaging type is JAR, language Java. Next, and we choose Spring Boot DevTools for automatic restart and reload whenever we make changes to the code. Spring Web to develop a web application, Spring Data JPA to access the database, with Hibernate framework, Template to render the view. And we'll also need to choose a MySQL JDBC driver. So we search for MySQL here, MySQL driver here. That's it, and click next, finish. Wait a moment for the project being created. Okay, so we got our Spring Boot project created here, and you can see the main class generated automatically. This is a Spring Boot application, as you can see. And this is the application properties, the configuration file, and this is the Maven's project file from.xml. And you can see the Spring Boot version of this project is 2.3.3 release. Okay, and let me create our controller class here. Main is main app controller, and we need to annotate this class as controller. And the first handler method is to allow the users to view the home page with the GET mapping to handle HTTP GET request to the home page. View home page, and this method returns a logical view name, which is home here, and then we create an HTML file under the templates directory here with the name home. Here, home.html, finish, and we change the title to document manager, heading 1, document manager. That's it, and now we can start this very first Spring Boot application. By default, we start an embedded Tomcat server listening on the port number 8080, which the context path is empty. We got an error here because we haven't configured data source information yet, so we need to update the application properties file here to specify the database connection information, the data source information. The first property we need to specify is spring.datasource.url, pointing to the URL of the MySQL database, JDBC colon MySQL colon // localhost, because I'm running my SQL server on the same computer. The default port number of my SQL is 3306 / documents is a database name or schema name. I want to use YAML file, so convert properties to YAML here, so it will look better, you see. And then I need to specify the username. Database username is root, password is password, and for JPI I need to specify this property hibernate.ddl.auto to tell Hibernate to create the database for the first time it runs, and I want to show the my SQL statement as well. So SQL show, and I also want to have the SQL statement formatted, so I specify this property Hibernate format underscore SQL show. That's it for the configuration of the data source. And this is a MySQL workbench that allows me to manage MySQL databases. And we need to create a new empty database and named documents here. So click this icon to create a new database schema. Name is documents. Apply, apply, finish. And now we can start our Spring Boot application. Right click in the boot dashboard here, start. Okay, our Spring Boot application is up and running. You can see the embedded Tomcat server is listening on port number 8080 here, which the context path is empty here. And now we can use Chrome browser to access our Spring Boot application. HTTP localhost port number 8080. And you can see the web page appears with the title Document Manager and the heading 1 Document Manager. That's exactly what we code in the home HTML page here. And later we will update the home page. Next, we need to create a new entity class that represents a document object here. So create a new Java class. Name is document. This entity class will map with the document table in the database. So we use the entity annotation from javax.persistent here and specify the table name is documents, and we declare some fields for this entity class. Long ID is the ID of the document, and name of the file uploaded, and size of the file uploaded, and then the upload time, which is of type date from java.ut package date, upload time. And the most important field when uploading files to the database is the byte array that stores the content of the file. So we declare an array of byte here to store the content of the file. And generate the getters and setters for these fields. Generate getters and setters. Select all. Generate. Okay. And let's use some annotations for the fields here. First, we need to use the ID annotation to indicate that this is a this maps to the primary key column in the table. And for the field name, we map it to the column with the same name in the database, but we need to specify the length is about 512. So the name can store long file name. Nullable equal false. That means name cannot be null, and the name of the file must be unique. So we specify unique equal true here. The field size has the same name with the column in the database, so we don't use any annotation. And for the upload time, view that maps to the column upload underscore time in the database table. So we need to specify the column name is upload underscore time by content same in the database, and that's it for the entity class. And later in the next few minutes we will run the application with Hibernate DDL auto set to create, so it will automatically create the database when running. Okay, and next we need to create a repository class, and you can see when I save the changes to this uh, entity class, the application automatically restarted, and you can see in the console view it prints the SQL statement to create the table documents here. You see. Let's check in the database. We have the database schema documents here set as default schema, and you can see a table documents got created here with the columns ID, content, name, size, and upload time. Exactly we have specified in the entity class here. So the database table has been created, so it's better to set this property to none. So Hibernate won't create the database for all the next run. Let's see the structure of the documents table in the database here. Right click on the table and click alter table. And you can see the ID column is primary key here, and name varchar with the length is 512, not null and unique. Content is the tiny blob, which is data type in MySQL, allowing binary data can be stored. Size big integer for the long data type in Java. Upload time is of type datetime. Next, we need to create a repository interface to use Spring Data API to access the database. But first, we need to stop this Spring Boot application because we are going to write a lot of code, and we also we run the unit test. So we create a new interface here, and the name is document repository. This interface should extend the interface API repository provided by Spring Data API here, which domain type is class document, and the type of the ID is long, which is a type of the ID field here, and we should annotate this interface using the repository annotation repository. That's it. And now let's create a very simple the unit test class to insert first file first document object into the database that contains the content of a file. Okay, so we create a new when we create the project test class already generated here. We change delete this annotation because we are going to test only the repository layer. So we use this annotation data API test, and we need to configure the auto configure test database replace equal none. So it won't replace the default data source with a database in memory. And change the name of the first test method to a test create document or insert document. And we create a new document object here. Document equal new document. And we need to read the content of a file on computer and read the bytes of the file. Set the bytes into this document object. So I create a new file object here. File equal new file. And on my computer, I prepare some documents, some files here in various formats: Word document, music, PDF, image, and video. And we want to insert a very small file, which is a Word document. So I copy the path, paste the path here, and then the file name is English test dot docx. English test dot docx. And then we need to read the bytes, the content of the file, and set the bytes array into this document object. First, we set the name. Document set name is the name of the file. Get name. And to read all the bytes of the file, we can use the files utility class from the Java NIO package here. Read all bytes here, and the path is from the file to path. And this method returns an array of bytes. And then we can set the bytes array to the content of the document. Document set content is a bytes array. Yeah. And we'll also set the size of the file. Document set size, which is the length of the array bytes here. Length. That's it. And then we invoke the save method of the repository to proceed this document object into the database repo. We need to have an instance of the document repository auto while here. Private document repository repo. And for testing purpose, assertion purpose, we need to use an instance of the test entity manager class, private test entity manager. This class provided by Spring Data API test entity manager. Okay, and we call the method repo.save, passing the document. And this save method returns the newly posited document object. So we assign it to a variable named save doc. And then we use the entity manager object here to retrieve document object based on the primary key ID. Document exist doc equal entity manager file method. The class type is document dot class, and primary key is the value of the ID. ID is the ID of the saved doc here. Saved doc get ID. That's it. And we assert that the size of the exist doc uh, is equal to the size of the uh, equal to the file size. Here we assign file size here, long file size equal bytes.length, and assign file size here, and we assert that I use assert J for Fluent assertion API. Assert that the exist document get size is equal to the file size here. So this is the assert statement. That's it. And now let's run this test method. First, let's check the content of the table documents here. Select rows, and you can see the table is empty, no rows. And let's run this test method. Open the outline view, outline here, and right click on the method run as JUnit test. We got an error here. Let's see what the error is. The test failed. We got an exception. No such file exception here. Index test.docx. English test. So I see property English.doc not docx. English test.doc. The old format of Microsoft Word. Now run this test method again. We also got the test failed. We got an error. IDs for this class must be manually assigned before calling save, because in the entity class I forgot to specify the generated value annotation for the ID field here. So we specify the annotation generated value with the strategy is generation type identity. So the values for this field will be automatically generated by the database. Now run the test method again. It's very normal if the first test failed. Oh, it failed again. Let's see. Here we got the root cause of the error is data truncation, data too long for the column content. It's because the column content in the database is was created with the data type is as you can see tiny blob here. This data type in MySQL can store only 256 bytes of data, so it's very too small. And whereas the document here is about 56 kilobytes. Let me show you. the blob type in MySQL. Blob stands for binary large object to store binary data. With a tiny blob, it can store up to 256 bytes. So that we got the error and data truncation, data too long for the column here. And MySQL also provides as a blob type. Blob can store up to 65 kilobytes of binary data. Medium blob can store up to 16 megabytes of binary data. And the long blob type can store up to 4 gigabytes of binary data. So in this application, we use a medium blob type to store the binary data up to 16 megabytes. So we alter the table here to change the data type of the content column to medium blob, so it can store larger amount of binary data. Medium blob here. Okay, and click apply. Finish. And now let's run our test method again, and this time I hope it we pass. We still got an error here. Let's see. The field ID doesn't have default value. Let's see. ID is generated value here. Let's see in the database. Here we should check the AI auto increment, because in the first run the code didn't have this annotation, so Hibernate didn't set the attribute AI, which stands for auto increment for this ID column. Click apply, finish. Oh, so it's difficult to get my first test pass successfully. Now run again. Oh, perfect! Now my test has passed successfully with the green check mark here. And in the console view, you can see it prints the SQL statement insert into documents, content, name, size, and upload time. I think upload time is no, because we didn't set upload time in the test method. Let's check the database. We see the table is still empty, because in the test method we forgot to use the rollback force. So at the end of the run, you can see it rollback the transaction here. You can see rolled back transaction for test. That means it already insert a row to the database, and later it delete for rollback. So in the test class here, we need to set the upload time. Set upload time, which is the current date and time, and then we need to use annotation or rollback here to force, so it will permanently commit the transaction. Okay, now run again. I think this is a final run. Okay, the test has passed successfully. Let's check the database. You can see we got a new row in the documents table here. Name English stat.doc size is file size of the file, upload time, and you can see in the column content it shows only blob, indicating that this column store binary data. And you can see the file size of this document is about, you can see 56,832 bytes here. And let's see in the database. You can see it's actually 56,832 bytes here. Next, I want to use Bootstrap for the project, so we can create a nice user interface. So I use WebJazz to use Bootstrap here. So I declare a new dependency in the Maven project file here. And dependency group ID is org.webjazz, and artifact ID is Bootstrap. And I want to use the Bootstrap version 4.3.1. And I also need to use another dependency to load Bootstrap CSS files from the jar, from the class path. So the dependency group ID is also org.webjazz, and the artifact ID is webjazz dash locator dash core. That's it. And we wait for Maven to download the required jar files for Bootstrap and webjazz locator. And then we will update the home page to use Bootstrap. Okay, let's see. Here you see Bootstrap here. This jar file contains the CSS files of Bootstrap, as you can see, right in the class path of the project. And WebJazz locator provides means to load the Bootstrap jar files, Bootstrap CSS files. So in the HTML document here, we refer to the Bootstrap CSS file like this: link rel equal style sheet, and type is text/css, and href attribute point to this directory webjazz slash bootstrap slash css slash, and then the css main file name of bootstrap dot mean dot css. That's it. And we can test by declaring a div with a class is container. A very popular class name in Bootstrap. Container dash fluid for responsive container, and text dash center to center the text inside this div. Okay, that's it. And now let's start our Spring Boot application. Start to test if the loading of Bootstrap CSS works or not. Okay, our application is up and running. Now let's refresh the home page here, and you notice the font changes and the text is center. You see, view page source, and click here. You can see the content of the Bootstrap CSS file. That means we have successfully used Bootstrap in our project via WebJAS. Next, we are going to implement the file upload to database function with this user interface that allows the user to choose the file, pick a file from their computer to upload to the server, and then the application will store the file's content into the database. It has a heading and a file input and a submit button. So we update the home page here. The first div section is for the document heading, and the next section is for the file upload function. Yeah, we should have a form tag around the div section. Okay, and the action of the form, we use template syntax to specify the action URL, which is / upload, and the method of the request is post. And because we are uploading a file, so we need to specify this attribute encryption type equal to motorpath / form dash data. Okay, and inside this form we got a warning in the ts colon action here, so we declare XML namespace here, XML namespace, and with the prefix eth equal to the home page https the home page of timeleaf www.timeleaf.org. Then the warning is gone, and we have the heading to upload your files, and with the file input inside a paragraph here, input type equal file, and name is document, and require, indicating that this field is required. And we have a submit button. When the user clicks the submit button, it will upload the file to the server. Input type equal submit, value equal upload. And for Bootstrap, we can use the class for the button as btn dash primary. Okay, save the changes and refresh the home page, and you can see we have the file upload form here with the input type equal file, allowing the user to pick up a file, and the submit button upload here. And let me modify, add some CS classes to make a rectangle around the upload section here. Class equal border around the corner, and margin size 3. Refresh, and you can see it looks better, right? And I specify the width of the form smaller. Style equal max width is about 600 pixels, and center the form, so I use a style margin 0 auto. Refresh, and you can see now the file upload form looks pretty nice, right? Choose file. I choose file in my documents here. English test. Click upload, and we got a white label error page because we haven't implemented the handler method for this URI. And now let's write code for the handler method that uploads the file to the database and stores the file into the database. So we use the post mapping annotation with the URI is /upload, which is URI we specify in the HTML form here, action /upload here. Public string upload file. After the file has been uploaded successfully, we display the home page with a successful message here, as you can see. So the return this method returns the home view, but in form of redirection. Return redirect colon slash to the home page. So this handler method will be invoked with home page. And to capture the file being uploaded, we need to use this annotation request param with the name of the file input here and document here. And the type is multipath file. This interface provided by Spring Framework Web multipath file. And we also need to have a reference to the redirect attributes. So we can set a message when redirect to the home page. So the successful message will be displayed like this. Okay, now we read the information about the file being uploaded to the server. First, get the file name. String file name equal to multipath file. Get original file name. But it's better to use utility class method in Spring to clean up the file name. String utility from Spring Framework here. And you can see the method clean path here. So we get only the file name. And then we create a new document object. Document equal new document. And we set the file name for the document. Set name is the file name. And we set content is the bytes of the multipath file here. Multipath file get bytes here. Very convenient, right? Just declare to throws exceptions here. And set the size of the file here. Set size, which is the value of multipath file as size. Very convenient as well, right? And then we use repository. So we need to have a repository instance here. Auto-wire private document repository repo. And we call or report save document, and we will also set the upload time of the document. Set upload time, which is the current date and time. That's it. And then we add a flash attribute, so when it redirects to the home page, we can display a successful message. A add flash attribute, name is message, and the message is the file has been uploaded successfully. That's it. And in the home HTML page here, we have this section to display the message with heading 2, heading 3, and we use this template syntax to print the content of the variable name message, which is set here. You see message when the message is set. Okay, and we use Bootstrap class text success to format to color the text here in the deep section. Now we are very ready to test the file upload function, file upload to database. Save the changes in the controller class so the application will automatically restart. Okay, and now refresh the home page. I choose the file to be uploaded. Now I choose the music file, MP3 file. Slip away here and click upload. Okay, we got an error here. I think it's because the file size is too big. You can see the view document exist is maximum. Okay, I will show you how to configure the max file size upload later. Now let's choose a smaller file that is within the allow size. Choose file. Here I choose image tulips here, which has a size only 600 kilobytes. Upload. Nothing happens. Let's see the database. Refresh. Here we got a second row inserted with the name of the file tulips.jpg here, file size and upload time. But somehow the successful message doesn't get displayed on the home page. Let's see. Message. Sorry, I haven't saved the home page yet. No problem. That means we have successfully uploaded a small file to the database. And in the console view, you can see it prints the SQL statement insert into documents. Yeah, perfect, right? Now let's try to upload another file, which also small. The a PDF document tax invoice here with the size 96 kilobytes. Open, upload, and you can see the message appears. Your file has been uploaded successfully. In the console view, it prints insert SQL statement here, and let's check the database. And you can see you got the third row inserted here for the file name tax invoice.pdf, file size, and upload time. Perfect, right? Next, I'm going to show you how to write code to implement the listing of the uploaded files here. This function displays a list of files uploaded to the database in the most recent files first. The most recently uploaded files appear first in the list here, and then in each file it shows the file name along with file size in bytes, and the user can click on the file name to download it. Now let's update the code. We need to update the document repository interface here to return a list of uh, document objects from the database. Well, because you can see document object uh, contains the few content which stores the binary content of the file. But when listing in this page, we don't want to load all the documents with all the content. We just want to load only the information like the file name, the size, the ID, and we don't load the binary content. So that's why we need to override the file method in the repository class here with a customized query. So list document, we override the file method, which is implemented default by Spring Data API, and we use the custom query. Here we select a new document object, and with only the fields ID, name, and size. We don't select the content of the field content here because it contains a binary which can be too large to load, and in the user interface here we don't need to use the binary data. So just create a new document with uh, ID, name, and size from document D, alias d.id, d.name, d.size, and we order by order by d.upload time in descending order, meaning the most recent files uploaded appear first, descending order. And we need to generate constructors in the entity class document. Here, generate constructors. The first is no argument constructor, generate, and the second constructor that for the fields ID, name, and size. ID, name, and size. Generate. That's it. And then in the controller class, in the handler method to the home page here, we get the list of documents from the database here. List document, list docs equal repo file all, and we set this list doc collection to the model, so we can access it in the view using timediff model. Add attribute, name is list docs, and value is a variable list collection list docs here, and that's it. Okay, save the changes we have made so far for the Java code, and now let's update the home page to display the list of files uploaded that looks like this. You see, so we create a new div section here, and we use a timediff syntax for each inner block, th block, we use th equal variable name doc and collection list docs, and I use a class CSS class for this. Div is row with border rounded, and for each document we need to write information like the file name, file size, and icon document icon like this. File name first is doc.name. That's it, and let's refresh the home page here. And you see we have the file names tax invoice tulips English test here. Is actually the 3 files uploaded to the database here. You see English test tulips tax invoice, and you can see the most recently uploaded file is tax invoice appears first here. Perfect, right? And here for this div I should use the class equal call for column, and a subdiv for the name. That's it, and refresh. You can see it looks better, right? Now let's add an image icon for a file here. For each file we have a document icon in the div section here. We use the image tag img thsrc pointing to the source of the image. So in my computer I have an icon file for document here. So I copy to the project, copy and paste into the static directory here. I create a new folder, images, and paste the image file here. So you see I have the document.png file here, and here I point to that image using time-lived syntax /image/ document.png. That's it, and refresh. And you see we have a document icon, but it's too big. So specify a fixed width about 50 pixels. You see it looks better, right? And add margin and padding for the div section, so we can have nice better. You see, and below the file name is the file size. So we have the div section displaying the file size here. We use the time-lived syntax to bring the doc.size here. Byte. Refresh, and you see it shows the file size of each document here in bytes, and it's better to format the number here with a separator for the thousands. So in time-lived you can use these numbers and format integer method. First argument is the size, is the number. Second argument is the minimum resist, and then the separator for thousands is comma. That's it, and refresh. You see it looks better, right? The file size of each document here. and we'll also add a hyperlink that allows the user to download the file. So we specify hyperlink here uh, for the file name, and you can see a href equal just empty for now. Sorry, it could not be empty. So we specify the URI for download file here. Download. You see, now the user can click on each file to download it, but we haven't implemented the handler method to download it, so it shows the white label error page here. Now let's test upload another file. Choose file. This time I choose to upload a zip archive here. My web app.zip. Open and upload. And you can see the message: the file has been uploaded successfully, and my web app zip appears first here. And you can see the size is 50,227 bytes here. Let's check verify in the database, and you can see my web app zip here, size 50,227 here exactly. And let's upload another file. Choose file. This time I upload an Excel document here. Upload, and you can see the Excel document layout design dot XLSX appears here. The most recent files appear first here. You see, perfect, right? Next, I'm going to show you how to implement the file download from database function that allows the user to click on the file listed here to download the file onto their computer. So let's update the hyperlink. First, here we need to construct a hyperlink with the parameter is ID of the document here slash download question mark ID equal and plus the value of the document ID doc.id. Refresh. Download question mark ID. And you can see the ID of the document appears in as a parameter after the URI here. For this document ID is 6, ID is 5 here. And now let's code the corresponding handler method for this URI. Download in the app controller class here. So we use a get mapping annotation slash download public void download file is this method doesn't return any value because it will send a file for the clients to download. And here we need to use a param annotation to map with the parameter name ID long ID of the document, and we need to have access to the HTTP service response so we can send the binary data of the document content of the document to the browser to download the file response. And first we need to get file by ID from the document repository here. This return an option object option document result, and we check if result is present is not present, meaning that no document was found with this given ID, and we throw an exception. Throw new exception with the error message is could not find document with ID, and then the ID of the document. Heteros declaration. Okay. Else we process to read the content of the file and send the binary data to the browser to download the file. Document equal result get, and we set a content type for the response. Set content type. Content type is application slash object dash gem. So the browser will download the file in the response, and we need to set a header key is content dash disposition, and header value is attachment semicolon, and file name equal to the file name of the document dot get name, and we set this header key and value for the response so the browser can understand the file being downloaded. Response set header key and header value. And to send the content of the document binary data to the response, we need to get the output stream from the response. Get output stream. Your side split output stream here. Output stream. And then we write the content of the document to the output stream. Document get content here perfectly, and then we close the output stream, causing the browser downloading the file. That's it. Very quite simple for the download file handler method. It's not too difficult. Okay. Now let's save the changes, and we are ready to test the file download from database function. Okay, and refresh, and now I want to download the file image file tulips.jpg here, and you can see the browser downloads file here, and we can click here to open. You see tulip flower, perfect, right? And I want to download this English test document as well. You see, perfect. So in folder, and you can see it download tulip and English test here. I can open it in my Microsoft Word. You can see, perfect. And let's try to download another document, which here PDF document here. You see, perfect. I don't have any associated PDF reader, so it is open right in the browser. Perfect. And let me download this Excel document layout design. Open. Perfect. Right. So that's how to implement the file download from database function functionality for a Spring Boot application. It's important to set the content type as application/artist-stream and set the header key content-disposition and header value is attachment and file name so the browser will download the file. And lastly, I'm going to show you how to configure the application and MySQL database server to allow uploading of last file. As you can see in the database design, we specify the data type of the content column in the documents table is of type medium blob, which can store binary data up to 16 megabytes. Now let's try to upload a relatively large file. For example, this PDF document size is about 4.7 megabytes. Open, upload, and we got an error. Let's see what the error is in the console view here, and you can see we got an exception. File size limit exceeded exception. The view document exists its maximum permitted size of about one uh, 1 million bytes, which is roughly 1 megabyte here. So 1 megabyte is the default maximum file size in Spring Boot. So to increase this max file size limit, we can configure in the application configuration file here. We specify the property Spring Servlet. You can see is a property servlet dot motorpath dot max file size here, and we specify the max file size is about 20 megabytes. Okay, save the changes. And now let's test again. Choose PDF file here, upload, and this time we got another error from MySQL database server. As you can see here, there's a exception is package too big exception. Package for query is too large. And you can see MySQL database server also suggests solution. You can change this value on the server by setting the max allowed package variable here. So copy. And you can see by default the package size for query in MySQL is about 4 megabytes here, which is less than the size of the file we want to upload is about 4.7 megabytes. Oh, let me see where is the file. Here, this PDF document size is about 4.7 megabytes. So to fix this error, we need to configure MySQL database server. So in Windows, because MySQL server running on the same computer, so I can open the task manager service and look for the MySQL service. MySQL service here. Yeah, as you can see, I'm running MySQL server version 5.7 here, and right click. Go. We need to open the services program. Here, look for MySQL instance name here. You see, and right click properties. And you can see in the path to executable here, you can see the default file setting file here, the path pointing to the MySQL setting file here. So copy this path, copy, cancel, and then open that directory here where the MySQL setting file named as my.ini here, and open it and search for this property marks allowed package here, and you can see by default the marks allowed package in MySQL is set to 4 megabytes, and I change this to 20 megabytes. That's it, and close save the change. And we need to restart MySQL server. So restart in service here, stop, restart. So how to configure the file max upload file size? You need to configure both in the application end and in the database server end. And now MySQL has been restarted. Okay, refresh, and let's try to upload that big file. Thinking in Java 3rd edition here. Open, upload, and you can see now the big file has been uploaded successfully. You can see it appears first Thinking in Java 3rd edition here, and the size is about for nearly 5 megabytes. Click to download. Perfect, right? Click to open, and you can see the content of the ebook Thinking in Java 3rd edition. Perfect. So far you have learned how to implement the file upload to database and file download from database. Let me summarize the key points as the most important things. We need to use BiArray for field in the entity class to store the binary content of the file being uploaded to the database or being downloaded from the database. And in the database design, we need to choose an appropriate data type for the column that stores the binary data of the file content, blob. And when implementing the file upload function, we need to use the multiple file object to get the content of the file uploaded to the server, such as file name, file size, and the array of bytes. And when listing files, we should not select the field that stores the binary content of the file being uploaded or being uploaded, because in the view layer we don't use this binary data. And for the file download, you need to set the content type of the response to application of this theme and the header to content its position, so the browser will be able to download the file. And lastly, you need to configure the max file size properly in both ends, in the application and in the database server. I hope you will find this video tutorial helpful. Subscribe, like, comment, share this video. Thank you.